I actually have to take a little bit of responsibility on Twitter recently. I don't know if these two things are related. However, I pointed out on July 4th at 5:36 p.m., I pointed out that Kanye West's new song that he came out with has a lot to say about liberty and that it shows a real sophisticated understanding of liberty, more so than many elected officials. And not 2 minutes later, 5:38, so I guess exactly 2 minutes later, Kanye West announced that he's running for president. Did those two events have anything to do with one another? I don't know. But if I did have anything to do with that, I'm sorry, or you're welcome, depending on your view of Kanye West running, helping us to break down the 2020 race, not just Kanye, but also the president, also Joe Biden hiding in a basement. We have the great Charlie Kirk. My friend Charlie, founder of Turning Point USA, a national student movement dedicated to identifying, organizing, and empowering young people to promote the principles of free markets and limited government. Charlie, thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Michael, and I think that's the ultimate cause and effect. Who knows if Kanye is running because of you or for whatever reason. So maybe you could take credit for that.
that's I can't tell if I want to take credit yet, because my first take on this is that this is very funny and enjoyable, and I get a real kick out of Kanye, and I don't think it's going to really hurt Trump. So for me, I think this will make 2020 even crazier and even funnier to watch. Some people, though, are nervous because anything can happen in politics. And Charlie, you have this unique position, which is you've been up close with basically all of the characters involved here. Kanye, the president, and obviously so many other people in the national political scene. What's your take on Mr. Yeezy running for president?
Yeah, I guess I'm one of the few people that actually can say that I've hung out extensively with Kanye West and the president.
And the president. You're the one guy.
Maybe Candace Owens and I are two of the only people that can say that. Well, look, first of all, I'm a huge Kanye West fan. I love that his conversion to Christianity, and he's a creative. Okay, we have to understand that. And for people that try to analyze it just through normal linear thinking, they haven't spent time with Kanye. I actually think this could be a very positive thing for the president. I think of it and I ask myself, what are the two demographics that Joe Biden needs to excite? And it is black voters and younger voters.
Yeah.
And Kanye West, if he were to run, and people say, oh, it's a joke. I say, hold on, did we not learn our lesson in the summer of 2015 when someone that has celebrity status runs for president? All candidacies should be taken seriously, right? And so I think in some ways it could actually be very positive, because the president in certain states can definitely consolidate 44, 45% of the vote. And if Kanye does run and he does file FEC paperwork and he does get on the ballot, and understand there's a lot of barriers there, he could conceivably take away a lot of the kind of younger voters that might have been more likely to vote for Joe Biden, and some of the black voters that might have been more likely to turn out for Biden. And so in no way do I think this is a bad thing for President Trump. And look, the president and Kanye are still friends. And let's just give Kanye credit. I mean, how many times he wore that MAGA hat around? He goes into the Oval Office. I don't see any of this as a negative towards the president. And again, there's a very interesting thing that's happening here, Michael, where you have to ask yourself the question, what is the Biden's camp's reaction to this? And I think in no way is the Joe Biden for president campaign thrilled that there's going to be a different candidate entering the race that might be exciting or getting headlines outside of Trump, because their entire race they're trying to create is a singular, almost parliamentary system referendum on the president. They want this to be like a House of Commons vote of no confidence, not a binary choice between Trump and Biden. And if there is a third candidate, it will no longer be a binary choice. And I think that Biden, having no enthusiasm, no energy, will not benefit from that. And the final point is, you look at the enthusiasm. Donald Trump's enthusiasm is almost double that of Joe Biden's, despite what the polling reflects in the actual. If the higher enthusiasm candidate has the less likelihood of being impacted by a third party entry. You saw this in '92 with Ross Perot and H.W. Bush. So I actually think this could be very exciting, and I'm open-minded to the positive.
That's my take on it, too. I don't think there are any Trump voters who are going to say, well, I was committed to Trump. I was very excited for Trump. But now that Kanye is in the race, I got to vote for Kanye. I think so many of us really like Kanye these days because, one, he wore the MAGA hat. That's great. Two, he is this kind of unique figure in our popular culture in that he won't stick to the script. You know, he says what he thinks. The conversion to Christianity or the reversion was terrific. I know a lot of us really liked that last album, Jesus is King. So we get a real kick out of the guy, but probably all of those people are more in for Trump than they would be for Kanye. But it does remind me, too, in terms of the voters who, let's say they don't pay attention to politics that much, they're not that interested. This is why the celebrities always come out and endorse the Democrat, as they want to convince people who don't pay attention to the news a lot that they've got to vote for their candidate. I think a lot of those people, you know, the ones who just don't live their life by the updates from Politico, they could be attracted to a Kanye West candidacy. That is going to hurt Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, let's not forget, even 4th of July weekend, refused to leave the bunker. He refused to leave the basement. He pushed that video in which he basically excoriated America. But that's it. I mean, the guy can barely leave his house. And so when you've got two candidates on the campaign trail, both of whom are such huge personalities, Donald Trump and Kanye West, where does that leave Biden?
Well, I mean, it doesn't put him in a good position. I mean, look, once things start to normalize, and I use that term very carefully because who knows what that even means anymore.
Right.
And this actually becomes some form of a presidential race, because you're starting to see the market tick up today, which is a really good sign. You're starting to see people travel more. And, you know, I was stuck in traffic the other day for the first time in like 6 months. Like, this is wonderful. People are actually driving again and they're getting outside. And so once you start to see America open up, there's going to be a demand of, wait, who's running for president again? And what does he have to say? All of a sudden, you're going to see a 5 to 10 point tightening of the race in both directions. Biden's number will go down and Trump's number will go up. I mean, people think of Joe Biden from the 90s, where he's just this gaffy, you know, lovable fake worker advocate from Scranton, Pennsylvania, when in reality, you know, he has serious cognitive decline. And also, once his true record gets thrown out. You make a very good point, Michael, where the Democrats always try to be the kind of sexy Hollywood candidate.
Yeah.
And if Kanye does enter this race, it disrupts that completely. I mean, it makes Beyonce and Jay-Z's endorsement of Joe Biden look kind of weird, because they know Kanye personally, right? Yeah. And they've had their spats and whatever. But I actually have gamed this out to some extent, where I see in no sense, if Kanye has a full-fledged political operation, whatever that looks like, and how entertaining that is, in no way does that hurt Donald Trump. It just doesn't. In fact, I think that it actually would fasten Donald Trump's base even more. It would actually give Trump's base even more confidence than it has now that it can win. Because if you look at Barack Obama's political coalition that won in 2008 and 2012, the last time the Democrats won the White House, he was the more exciting, imaginative candidate, right? He ran up against John McCain and Mitt Romney, for goodness sakes. And Joe Biden's path to victory is boosting turnout in those communities that someone like a Kanye would do really well. And you saw how Hillary Clinton failed tremendously from that. So I think that the celebrity appeal is something that Democrats need in order to get to victory.
I think you're right, and I agree. I don't think it really hurts Trump. So then my question, because you have hung out with Kanye a fair bit, is it real? What's your read? Is this just a big publicity stunt? It's to promote a song or something? Or is Kanye really going to try to get on the ballot? Or is he going to try to run a write-in campaign? I mean, what are we really looking at here beyond the tweet?
Well, I don't know. I've spent a good amount of time with him, and I have to say he's a lot of fun. He's very creative.
Yeah.
He thinks asymmetrically. Here's the best piece of advice. Don't dismiss it at face value.
Yeah.
Don't say, there's no way he's doing it. And the more people who say that, the more likely Kanye's probably going to do it. Kind of knowing how he thinks psychologically.
Right.
The more people that said, you can't wear the MAGA hat, and then he basically wears a MAGA suit.
Yeah,
right?
and hugs Trump in the Oval Office, right?
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. That was back when you could hug people.
That's right.
It was. I miss those days. But I'll tell you, it's so I don't know, but I could tell you this, that it's probably more real than not. And that's probably the truth there. And look, you have Elon Musk contributing to it, and the fact that Elon endorsed him is pretty big. It's not that he endorsed Kanye. That's not the point. The point is that Elon didn't endorse Biden.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Right.
Elon's supposed to sit down and obey, right? Like Elon gets government contracts. Elon benefits from tax credits in California. He's supposed to be a Biden guy. And Elon is looked up to very favorably amongst a lot of teenagers and early 20-somethings. And so there's a disruption happening. You don't see the people who are supposed to be consolidating behind Joe Biden. It's not happening as flawlessly as the masters of chaos would like it to be.
Well,
or the architects of the Biden presidency.
Right. I know. I think that's totally true. The enthusiasm just doesn't exist. I mean, nobody is gung-ho to go out there and canvass for Joe Biden who can't remember his own name. However, there are these troubling polls, and I don't put a ton of stock in the polls necessarily, but the movement since the coronavirus, since the lockdown, 15 days to slow the spread, which was now, I think, 111 days ago, it has ebbed. The economy has collapsed, obviously, because we told people they couldn't work and threw 40 million out of work. Are you worried about these polls? I mean, do you think the Trump campaign is worried about these polls? And most importantly of all, do you think I should worry about these polls?
Well, and look, I've said this publicly. I don't think the recent polling is trending in the correct direction. Now, do I take them at face value? No. But even if I take them as half wrong, they're still not great, right? I mean, the question is they're wrong, but how wrong are they? And so, but again, I attribute this to a couple reasons, to a couple things. Number one, this is not a presidential campaign. Typically, and again, it's going to be really interesting because some of these networks, by law, they have to cover the race equally. And that's a very interesting thing that has, I would love to see an independent auditor go through NBC or ABC's coverage, because just as a side note, in a presidential campaign like post July 4th, they have to give equal time to both candidates. It's by law if you're a network. And the enforcement of that is going to be awfully interesting to look into, because I don't even know how you cover Biden. You just have a picture of his house and you say, here we are outside of the Biden camp. He's still in his basement.
He ate an omelet today.
It's a wonderful day in Delaware. It's 84 degrees and that's about it. I mean, I'm half kidding, of course, but once Biden has to get in front of human beings and not in front of a socially distant, coffee gathering where everyone's in front, inside of their 30-foot circle where they have his whatever that is, this is going to tighten dramatically. And I think the president, if he strikes the tone he did at Mount Rushmore, where he's just the defender and the guardian of peace in America, that's his message. And he gets America to think big, and he has very tangible, specific aims of how he's going to get America back to greatness and real achievable results. I think that it's going to be perfectly. I think it's perfectly fair to say that in the fall you're going to see this race tighten up into a bottleneck.
But then I guess
that is not a race that Biden wants.
This is my question. I think your analysis is spot on, but will we be able to open up? I mean, Joe Biden basically told us during that last bizarre press gaggle where he had his hand-picked reporters, he said, I'm not going to campaign. I'm not going to have rallies. I'm going to wear my mask all the time. He tried to blame it on the virus and the doctors, even though it was so awkward. He's saying we have to wear masks, but he wasn't wearing a mask. He said we can't go outside, but he was outside, right? He was at this press briefing. So it just seemed to be when it was politically convenient for him to go and show up, he would do it. But it's not politically convenient because he has such obvious signs of decline. So my question is, with the states locking down again, are we actually going to get a presidential campaign? Are we going to get to that stage? Or is Biden going to hide in his basement all the way to the Oval Office?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. We need to open up. And, one really positive lesson of the last week is how you can pressure weak Republicans into doing the right thing. I mean, you saw Senator Mike Braun, who came out and supported the BLM Inc. movement. I don't call it the phrase because the phrase is ostensibly true. And
it's
I don't
ridiculous.
Want to say something,
right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so
BLM
exploitative
Inc.,
to use that phrase.
$100 million. Yeah, exactly. It's a multi-$100 million, money-raising operation for Act Blue. He comes out and he supports it. And then Tucker Carlson and myself and you and we come after Senator Mike Braun, incredibly aggressive. And he runs to the hills and pulls the bill and says he doesn't mean it. Well, that's what we need to do to these Republican governors that are shutting down their states again.
Bingo.
And what I've learned is how 50 or 60 tweets from blue checks can make these Republican governors very nervous. Can make these Republican, it's incredible how much power we actually have. We convince ourselves that the ruling class on the Republican side will never listen to us. It's just not true.
Yeah.
It's like if we make enough noise, even just 1% to 2% of us, you can change their behavior. So Florida, Texas, Arizona, I know these governors. What the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
Data does not support relocking down your states. The quicker America reopens, the quicker we'll have our economy back, and the quicker we'll have a presidential election post-Labor Day.
That's right.
Once we have a presidential election in mid-September, and we don't have this vote-by-mail fraudulent scheme that they're trying to implement, that's a scenario where we can win. If we are not opened by September, Biden has a higher likelihood of being president than not.
This is it. I think you're so right on this. I think at this point, in this second obviously politicized lockdown, at the very least in this one, it's obviously not only a political stunt, it is the Biden campaign. And the quicker we can reopen, the better, in my view. Charlie, spot on as always. This is why I always pay attention to what you're saying. Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA. He's all over the place. Charlie, my man, thank you very much. This video is sponsored by BlinkSale, the revolutionary invoicing software for contractors and small businesses. Spend less time billing and more time making bank with BlinkSale. Get a free trial at the link in the video description.